Stuart, we saw the team news about Jack Vale. How's Stephen O'Donnell? Any more word on him?
Yeah, Stephen's not trained this week. We're hopeful that it's not too bad, but again, it's one that needs to be assessed over the next 2 days. I feel like I sit here and say that quite a lot. But it's definitely not as bad as we first feared. You're obviously looking at dislocations and all that type of stuff, which has been cleared of. But he took a pretty significant blow, obviously from a height. And I'll probably just piggyback on that one. It's not a moan. I'll go back to it again. If you actually look at the challenge, I don't think there's any intention whatsoever to injure the player. But I've been so big on this, as you know, Gav, over the last 18 months. It's what is it they call it in rugby? It's like a tip tackle or something. When you're fully up there and you're contesting the ball, you can't make a back for the opponent. You know, it's something that I think personally that has to be outlawed for the game here. We have had a wee bit of dialogue with Willie, and again, it's not a rant. It's just that it's something that I feel that we're missing at this minute in time. Without being too dramatic, you know, if Stephen falls another couple of inches in the way and lands on his head, you know, what's his neck supported by other than his full body weight coming down on top of him? So I don't want to dampen the mood or anything like that for the game. I thought the game was really well officiated last Friday, but I just feel that it's something that our eye isn't particularly well trained for. It was his shoulder, fortunately, but I'm probably one that sits in a position where I feel that could be a little bit worse unless we start to kind of get a grip of it. If two players go and contest a header and they both jump at the same time and come together, you're generally going to have just a bit of contact and both players will maybe fall to the ground or land on their feet. So I don't see the severity with that, but when one player jumps and the other one starts to take away their body weight and your hips go above your head and your neck essentially, then I think that we're starting to run the risk of pretty serious injury.
Obviously Marvin Clayton came on and you must have been pleased with the way he responded in a really important game, a difficult time maybe to come on as well, and did really well.
Yeah, no, I was particularly pleased for Marvin. He's sitting waiting patiently. There was a bit of work to get him up to full speed. He's obviously a young lad basically coming out of academy football, and we know that the stresses and the strains of senior football can take a wee bit of time to get yourself up to speed with. It's not that we've never seen his quality, we have undoubtedly, but we had to get him to a position of being a wee bit more robust. But I think everyone can see the qualities that he brings both offensively and defensively. But I was really pleased that the impact that he had in the game. I felt he was involved in an awful lot down that right hand side. I thought he looked really creative, to be honest with you. He gave us a real drive and a real thrust down that right hand side, because ultimately it's big shoes to fill when he comes on the pitch. Stephen O'Donnell's been such a consistent performer for us, undoubtedly right at the top end with the level of consistency and what he churns out every single week. So I think maybe a lot of people were looking to see if that void would be filled in the short term, but I think what it does is it gives us good optimism moving forward that we've got a couple of really strong players, a couple of really good players in that area of the pitch.
There's a lot of effort that went into getting Fir Park packed on Friday night, and that was shown by just under 6,000 Motherwell fans. How pleased were you to send them away with that victory and a trip to Hampden? Yeah,
especially pleased. The first point is that you're desperate to get into the semi-final, of course you are, but there was there's a bit in me that when you see how hard people work and you see how difficult it is to pay money for tickets, we obviously had a rallying call for the town to come out and support their team. The fans 100% got behind us. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I thought I spoke about it being magical in terms of the atmosphere. I think the numbers, we all know how difficult it is in the world to have that extra money to go and spend it on tickets for football and stuff like that. But I think that my greatest fear, and I always talk about this sometimes, my greatest fears are silly things, stupid little things. I just didn't want us to let them down. When you see that number coming out to back us in the fashion that we did, it was just so important to me that we deliver a performance. I think supporters will always forgive you if you come up marginally short and there's a moment of brilliance, Louis Moult's finish. They'll forgive you for that, but what we have to show is maximum effort and maximum commitment to the cause. I think the supporters seen that. Unfortunately for us, we got the result in the end. I think it's the best attended game that we've had here at Fir Park in 13 years, out with an Old Firm game, which tells you a story in itself. And I also just think that it gives us an opportunity for something to build on. I spoke so much about being that community club. I spoke about that feel good factor, trying to keep it here, and hopefully we might not get everybody back in around about 6,000 Motherwell fans that were in here, but I'd love us to get close again on Saturday and try and keep that, and for it to be something that we generate throughout the course of the season.
And how big an achievement is this? Not just getting to the semi-final, doing it with 6 or 7 first-team players that are injured. It's quite an achievement doing that.
Nah, it is no matter whether we had a full strength squad or whether we had injuries, but I think what we've shown at the start of the season is our resilience, our togetherness, which especially pleased me. I think we've shown our quality in large spells in there. I always talk about us being so competitive with whoever we play against. I think that's been evident. I don't think many people in my time will be able to point to occasions where we've not been competitive with who we played against, but I just think that it's also good at this early stage for a lot of the new players to feel that and experience it. And I think we also have to be mindful that 2018 was the last time that we were at Hampden. I did say that last week, and these things don't come around very often, but we also have to park it, very much park it. I didn't bother too much with the draw on Sunday because it's always going to be what it'll be. My focus from Saturday morning, I think it would have been, is getting out to watch St Mirren against Hearts, and really starting to focus on the league campaign again. We have to enjoy it for a few hours, but I think we owe it to ourselves and everybody else that supports us and backs us, that they realise that we get straight on the horse again to make sure that we're ready for the league campaign.
And you mentioned the league campaign. What kind of challenge are you expecting from St Mirren?
I think if you look at all our games against them last season, I know there's a number of different players on both sides, but the games were incredibly close. They were only separated by a goal, and I think there was a couple of draws in there last season. So I think on a head-to-head basis, it was very, very close between the teams. I think there was 1 or 2 games that we didn't pick up maximum points, that we would make a case for being the better team, and there's games in there that St Mirren would make a case for being the better side. So I think it just points to the direction of it being really, really close. I watched them last weekend. I watched them a few times this season. They're a big old physical unit. I think they're athletic. I think they're dynamic. I think they carry real good quality in their side as well. Pace in behind. Olasanya started the season well. His goal scoring, his pace to get in behind. I think they've got players that can play. They've got a wee blend of everything, to be honest with you. So I think it's about us being as well rounded as we possibly can be to make sure that we can try and get the result we want.
And more generally, what do you make of the job that Stephen Robinson's done in Paisley?
He's done great. Stephen's done great. I'll probably bore everybody by saying that. When I first came into management, Stephen was somebody that I found myself attracted to with conversation on football, and at the time what he was doing at Motherwell. I was running about that spell in 2018 when Motherwell got to 2 cup finals, and you appreciate good work, you appreciate that work ethic, and I think he's somebody that's very astute in the game. I think he's somebody that's managed to do well in the transfer market and bring in good players. I think that you would argue that they've got potentially a stronger squad than what they had last year, and I mean that by strength and depth. I think Stephen's done a really good job. I think it should be recognised, and as I say, I always go back to it. I have respect for all managers, but yes, without question, somebody that enjoys conversation, somebody that enjoys company, and somebody that has done a good job in Scotland, not just for a season or 2, but for a sustained period.
You got in this game in form though, Stuart. How have you been with recent performances?
No, delighted. I'm especially pleased about the mood about the place. That generally is generated from results. I think we've started the league campaign okay. I would obviously want another couple of points on there, and we want to go and try and find our next win as soon as we possibly can. But there's not been too much that disappoints me. There's bits that I'll always look for perfection, but there's not been a lot that's disappointed me in there. And I think we've dovetailed off the cup campaign and the run in the cup as much as anything with our league form as well. And I hope that we can go from strength to strength. We were just talking there about the amount of players that we're missing, and even 1 or 2 that we're still losing at this point. I just feel that once we get everything together and we have that full group to pick from, I just think it makes a stronger Motherwell, and I hope that reflects and it shows in our results.
You got Apostolos back up, obviously on Friday there, but other than Stephen, how's the squad looking for this weekend?
Yeah, fine. Johnny Katrumbis is back into full contact training. Shane Blaney comes into full contact training today. You mentioned Apostolos, he's obviously another week into full contact training, so those three, along with the long-termers, are all still making progress. The big blow to us last week that we kind of gave a wee bit more details on through the week was Jack Vale, which is a blow. Jack was really getting up to speed and somebody we know all about. But there's as always something that you get taken away in the other hand slightly. But no, we remain positive and we're happy to see those three guys in particular getting back into full training.
How are the sort of maybe longer term guys we've not seen, sort of Ross Callahan, Sam Nicholson and Philippe Stupre, who's not been involved as of late?
Yeah, no, I think, for the likes of Sam Nicholson making good progress, but obviously there's a timeline to it. Callum Slattery, we spoke about that 9 months, but making really good progress. Callum's in a good place run about here. He's hitting all his milestones that he needs to with the medical guys. And then you look at the likes of Ross Callahan, he's got a knee brace off, and he's or the leg brace, I should say, with the operation he's had, and he's moving about far more freely. And Harry Payton's probably a couple of weeks out from getting fully into contact training. So I think that we start to find ourselves in a good position. I think we start to find ourselves as far down the line with these guys as we possibly can, and it's just a waiting game to get through the couple of weeks and try and hit all the markers that the medical staff are looking for them to hit, and then it starts to give me a major headache in terms of the quality that you have run about the place. But hopefully everybody fully up to speed in a really competitive nature to our group, but to continue the standards that we have at this minute in time. And it should be difficult for players to get back into that match day squad. I don't want that to be easy. It's really important to me that it's really difficult for these guys to get into the match day squad, and I think if you do that, it probably, all arrows point to the fact that you're operating pretty well as a club.
When you talk about sort of the mid there, considering when you came into the club first as manager and then over the summer with the talk investment getting a bit divisive, is this as positive as you felt it sort of in your time here, just the mood about the club with fans and looking ahead to the semi-final?
Yeah, again, I would probably lean towards the fact that I hope everybody can see the direction of travel, because that's always really important to me. I'm not a short-term person, as I speak about. I think what's really important is the fact of the buy-in from the community. Again, I can lean back on the support that was here on Friday, but I think everybody can see what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve. Not the specifics necessarily of that league place and what position do you think you'll finish in the league. We spoke about trying to go on a cup run, we spoke about trying to pack this place out, we spoke about trying to get young players into our team, integrate new players. So I think if we're being brutally honest and you start to assess all those factors, there's a lot of positivity in there, and I'm always huge on not just talking about something, I'm huge on trying to actually deliver and evidence it, and I feel that there's plenty of evidence for us to look towards. There have been some challenges, as you point to, on and off the pitch, but I think that you can feel a real togetherness and a real community spirit within the football club at this minute in time. So that pleases me, but I'm always a long-term thinker, but it's important that you're showing improvements in every facet, and I do for one believe that on and off the pitch we as a football club are growing, but the tough task is to make sure that you keep developing and you keep growing and you keep evolving from within every aspect of the football club, not just what you see out there on a Friday night or a Saturday.
You spoke about the fans, Stuart, last Friday night. Does that make it that little bit extra special when maybe sometimes in Scotland particularly fans can be unforgiving at times?
Yeah, it's a tough question in so many ways. I try and blank out as much negativity as you possibly can. Football is an emotive sport. Supporters will become a wee bit knee-jerk when you don't feel that you've got the result that you want, or you've had a bad 10 minutes in a game of football. That's part and parcel of it. It's always going to be part and parcel of it. I try and centre on the positives. What we're always trying to do is break records like that 13-year record that we had that I mentioned at the start of this. We want to do that. We'll not achieve that if the supporters don't believe in the team, if they don't think they're fully committed. So I like to try and centre on those positives. Hopefully one of the fallouts from it is that we have an extra couple of hundred supporters here for a league game off the back of that. Hopefully we've enticed some of the people that came along that maybe haven't been regulars of late to come along again on Saturday, and then it becomes our job to go and try and see if we can capture their imagination again. But I think it was a brilliant advert for Friday Night Football was another thing that probably comes off of that. We felt that there was a wee bit of nostalgia and a little bit of finishing the working week and coming and supporting your team, and that absolutely was how it felt, as the manager, and I think for the players as well. So I think a good advert for that and attendances for Scottish football, and potentially something we look further into.
And just earlier this week we had another managerial casualty in Stephen Naismith. Is that just a constant reminder of how ever-changing football can be?
Yeah, again, Stephen's a guy that I like. I don't know him particularly well, but conversations before, during and after games, I always found him a touch of class. I always found him as a really approachable guy, obviously at the sort of front end of his managerial coaching career, but I'm always one for acknowledging achievements, and you know, a comfortable third place finish last season can never be forgotten about. I understand it's been a difficult task at the start of this season. I've never managed Hearts, so difficult for me to comment on it, but I understand that it's one of the biggest clubs in this country, and I realise there will be a lot of pressure that comes with that. So disappointed, of course, that we've lost another manager and someone that's had some real good achievements in there. But yeah, I'm sure Stephen, like the rest of us, will take real positives from his work and his time at Hearts, and I'm fairly certain he'll be someone that shows credentials of being a really good manager, and he'll pick it up and he'll put himself back out there again. But none of us ever like to see any managers losing their job, and I say the same thing every time that comes up, because we know how difficult this job is, and yeah, I certainly wish him all the best.